Hi everyone, it's Kim, the Stash Stitcher. I thought today what I would do is I would go through my process of creativity. So basically when I come into my sewing room, what goes through my head basically before I start my day of sewing, an opportunity to sew as and when I can. So when I come into my sewing room, I generally ask myself, what do I want to do today? Do I want to finish off a project that I've already been working on? Do I want to start a new project? It just depends how I feel on that particular day. Um, so I thought I would go through some of the things I actually do. I feel in myself I am quite creative and I will have a go at anything. Whether I stick to it is another thing. So generally I will make garments. Primarily most of my sewing is garment making. I love making clothes, and I learnt to sew at school when they used to teach you sewing. I learnt to sew at school, and that passion has stayed with me for many years. I've sewn all the way through when I was at college, when my children were small. And even now, I primarily sew for myself, but I do sew a few things for my husband and my kids. But primarily it's for me. I also like to knit. I like to generally knit in the evenings, so I will knit things like jumpers, cardigans, socks. Knit a lot of socks. They're easy and you don't have to think about it. And also you can watch the telly without stop looking at the TV. So I quite like knitting socks. I also like making cushions. I got into quilting this year, and I have made quite a few quilted cushions which I absolutely love, and I've made them with calf facet fabric, which I adore. I just love bright vibrant colours, and his collection of fabrics are amazing. I think there's a few images of some of those cushions on my Instagram page, so go and have a look at those. I don't have any of them up here. Oh yes, right there. I have one which is still in the process of being finished. So this is my calf facet cool, the cool colour from his cool collection. So I've made that, nearly made it I should say. So that's yet to be finished. It's been quilted. The reason why it's in my to be finished projects box is because I'm just waiting for a zip to come. So once that comes, I can get that finished. So as well as sewing cushions, I make other homeware stuff. I have made curtains in the past. I don't particularly like making curtains, but I do make them as and when they're needed. I also like to do tapestry. I do tapestry. I have to really be in the mood to do tapestry, and I've made a few cushions, and I do have a few cushions in my whip box. Let's have a look. Oh, okay, this is the smallest one. So this is an iris that I made up. I've already put it, I put fabric on it to make it into a tiny little cushion. I've also put some sort of beaded trim around it, and the back's finished and it's all ready to go. I've just need to buy a little insert to go into it, and then that's finished and that can go downstairs with the other cushions, which really annoys my husband because he thinks we've got enough cushions, but I say you can never have enough. I'm also working on this cushion. This has been finished, but what I need to do is I need to stretch it into place, because when you do tapestry, those that do tapestry will know that when you work on them, sometimes they become a little bit distorted, so it needs to be stretched back into a square. So once it's in its square shape, I will put a backing on it and make it into a cushion. So there's really not much more to do with that, and I've just bought some tacks so that I can place it on my board and stretch it out. So that's another cushion to be finished. And there's a few more, and I will show you those as I go along in the future. So as I've mentioned, I have a little whip box, and it is full of all my projects that I've started and as yet to finish. So generally, here she is. Here's my little whip box. Not little at all, but there are a few things in here which are so nearly finished, it's embarrassing. So I have a blouse in here which only needs a sleeve put on, and that'll be finished. I have a bag in here which is the open wide bag, and I've got 2 of those on the go, unfinished, and I needed to get some extra fabric, and they will, when they're finished, they will look like that, and they're quite nice to give out as gifts to people. I use this as my sort of sock knitting bag, so I thought I would show you that. Oh, there's another quilted cushion, Volkswagen, and that will go downstairs at some point. This is a garment that's been cut out, though I haven't started stitching that yet. This is a pattern that I've been working on, and I've been doing a few adjustments. This is such a nice pattern, and I've made it a few times, but every time I make it, it's tight around the bust. So I'm trying to do a bust adjustment on it, but it doesn't have darts. So I've been doing a bit of research on that, and I found a way how to do it. So I'm going to finish that off and start making a few of those again. That's a wrap dress cut out, ready to go. Another bag by a company called Couture Designs. I love them. And another tapestry, another cushion. So that will eventually get made into a cushion. So I really need to get to grips with my tapestries. I've got a few going. I haven't started any new tapestries. I don't feel the urge at the moment. I think my tapestry making projects probably be on hold for a while. I don't have the urge to make any of those lately. I've moved on to other things, and I've moved on to quilting. As you see from some of the cushions, a lot of them are quilted. The bags are also quilted. I quite like quilting, and because of that, I invested last year in a monthly subscription to make a proper, bed quilt, and it's called the Queen of Diamonds. And this is the quilt that I'm going to be making. Okay, and each month they send you a set of fabrics, and you already have templates and the paper pieces, and you make the blocks up. So these are some of the blocks that will go into the quilt. So these are all hand stitched around a paper piece. So it's EPP, which is English paper piecing. So the piece of paper, you wrap the fabric around the paper template, and once you've got the templates, you make up the diamond as instructed. So there are different diamonds to make each month, and they will provide you with the fabric, and off you go. You just follow the instructions in the manual, and then off you go. So eventually, by the end of the year, you will have all of your diamonds ready, and then they will give you fabric to then make up the sashing, and you just bring it all together. So I haven't made a quilt before, but I'm enjoying this process, and we'll see how that goes. Generally, if I have any scrap fabric left, I do make these tiny little fabric squares, and then what I will do is eventually I will make a quilt out of those, but I just like to use up some of the little scraps that I have. God knows what I'm going to make with those, but I just enjoy it. Sometimes when I lose my sewing mojo, I will just think, oh, I just stitch a few little squares together, and I quite enjoy that. They're just effortless. You just make a few up. You've got half an hour spare, you can make a few up, and that's quite nice. And sometimes it gets you back into your sewing mood, which is quite nice. So the other thing I like doing, like I said before, is knitting. So I have been knitting a cardigan. So let me just show you what I've been knitting. I used to enjoy knitting a lot when I was younger, but I think the sewing has taken over primarily. So I don't know whether you can see that very well, but that is the cardigan that I'm knitting at the moment, and that's coming on quite nicely. I generally do quite a bit of knitting in the winter. Knitting in the winter is my sort of thing. So that's the colour that I'm making, and as you can see, it's quite see-through. It's quite a nice throw-on thing for the summer. So I should think if I carry on with that by the summer, it might be finished. I'm not the fastest knitter in the world. I just take my time with everything. I am not the fastest in the world. I'm in no rush to get anything done. I don't put myself under any pressure at all. I just make something, and I like to make it well. I'm probably the world champion at unpicking, because if I'm not happy with something, I will happily unpick and get it right. So that is my thought process. So basically, when I come into my sewing room, I will just say to myself, you know, what do I want to do today? And it might be sewing, it might be making a bag, it might be making a doll, and occasionally I will delve into my little whip box and think, right, okay, I'm in the mood to finish something. I keep a track of all of my projects by writing, keeping track of all of the projects on a little project sheet. So I made these little project sheets up. Okay, they're double-sided, and generally what I will do is I will put a little swatch of fabric on of the thing that I'm making. I will also put, if there's interfacing on, I will also include that, so I know details about what it is, what size it is, what size I am before I start the project, the size, the fabric type, anything that I need to finish that project. And then as I'm going along, I will make notes about, you know, the pattern instructions, whether the fabric's worked well with that pattern, and basically if I would make it again, and if I would make it again, what would I change? Don't necessarily always need to change something, but sometimes I will change things like lengthening the arms. I've got quite long arms, and I've also got a bigger bust than the standard pattern size it's made for, so I will do a bust adjustment as well. Generally, when I get a new pattern, I will make it probably about 3 times. If I like the pattern, I will make small adjustments to accommodate my arm length, bust, hips, etc., as we all do. Then when I finished it, I will really critique it. So I think actually I could probably make the arms a little bit longer. I could make the bust a bit bigger. I could make, so if it's a shirt, for instance, whether it fits well over the hips, whether I would make it longer or shorter. If it's trousers, whether I've got a nice fit around the middle, whether the right length, things like that. So I will generally make them a few times. By the time I get to the third try, they're usually a really good fit. I trace off all of my patterns. I never cut out a paper pattern. I will trace off my paper patterns. So if I need to make any adjustments to the pattern, it will always be from my traced pattern. Patterns nowadays are quite expensive. You know, when I first started patterns were cheap as chips, but now they can be quite expensive. So I look after them. I make sure I use my traced off pattern to make any adjustments. So I've always got the original pattern to trace off any more pieces if I need to. So I always keep that original pattern in pristine condition. And you can see here, up here are all of my patterns there. They had their own folder, and I'll go through how I organize my patterns on a different video. So once I've written down everything I have done, it goes into my little folder here, and these are all of the things that I've made over the year. So anything that has a little tag here means it's not finished. So you can see there are a few there. At this time of the year, I generally look at my unfinished projects more, because I do like to try and get as many of them finished before the end of the year, because I hate going into the new year with so many unfinished projects. So I will concentrate on quite a few of those coming into the end of the year, because I like to try and get my whip box a little bit more under control. And as you can see from some of those that I've shown you, a lot of them are very close to being finished, so I need to just pull my finger out and get them done. So that's how I organize all of my projects, and it's quite nice having my little projects all written out, because if I need to go back to a project, I just refer back to my little project sheet. I can see exactly, you know, why did I stop working on it. It might be because I'm waiting for some buttons to come in, it might be something else, or it might be because I've got a bit frustrated with something and I need to just walk away from it and then come back to it later. But this will generally tell me where I've got with it, why I've stopped, and how far I need to go to finish a project. So that is it, basically. That is how I think. My creativity is quite eclectic. I will just do what I fancy. I don't feel the need to start and finish something religiously. I'm quite fortunate that I have a sewing room, and this sewing room is crammed packed of all the things I need to use in my project. So generally 9 times out of 10 I have everything to hand. And I will maybe do another video and show you my sewing room and how it's organized, and maybe a part 2 of how I use my sewing room to finish my projects. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please like, and be really grateful if you would subscribe. Leave any comment you want. I will come back to you as soon as I can, and hopefully I haven't irritated you all by the amount of I say. I'm terrible at that, so I do apologize for that. That's never going to stop. So I will see you next time round. Leave me a comment, like my video. Happy if you subscribe, it'd be brilliant. Speak soon. Take care.